Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Relentless Transitions podcast. I am Teresa Carthren, your host from the US.
And I'm Rosalind Keith, your host from Canada. And we're excited to get started on our podcast today. What are we going to talk about, Teresa?
Yes, we have a great topic today. So, as you know, on the Relentless Transitions podcast, we talk about life, we talk about business, and how to overcome challenges and achieve triumph. So, today, what we're going to talk about is how to build the confidence to launch your business.
Can be scary. Can be
Yes.
very scary.
So all we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and just jump right on in. So first thing that I would like to say is that for me is that it's important to understand that it is normal to be afraid. It's normal to be afraid. You're thinking about launching a business or developing a business idea all the way to where you're ready to bring it into the marketplace. It's scary. I mean, I'm scared even today. We are starting this podcast, and as we were thinking about the podcast, of course I thought about, things such as, is anyone going to listen? Will it be successful? Will it fail? But if you notice, I have that positive talk going before all of that, right? Will it be successful? But will it fail? If it fails, is it going to impact my other business? Is it going to negatively impact my other business? Will I still be able to make money? If it does fail, will I be sad? I mean, those are normal thought processes, I think, for everyone. So just understanding that it's normal to be afraid or normal for something to happen or there to be a setback. I think that helps us to build confidence.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It is very normal to be afraid. And it doesn't mean that you should crawl into bed and avoid and let your dream of owning your own business let the dream of you owning your own business disappear under the covers. Sorry, we've got Teresa's helper there voicing his opinion. Go out there and
Yes,
he's telling us,
expressing his
right?
confidence.
That's right. Yeah, so you really do have to face your fears. If you're worried about failing, it's okay. Everybody worries about it. But when you're launching your business, you're going to be thinking about, what if my logo doesn't resonate with people? What if I target to the wrong, what if people don't believe I'm good enough? What if people don't
Oh, yeah, that's a
believe
good one.
I'm an expert in my field? You're worried about other people's opinions. Instead of letting all those what ifs build into a decision not to step forward, lean into those fears. Big things can happen if you face your fears, like us launching this podcast, for one thing. I mean, I've never done anything like this before in my life, and could I have said to Teresa, nope, not my ballywick, not my strength, not what I'm into. I wouldn't be here, and I wouldn't be trying this one little thing out that's going to be, I'm confident, going to be good for both our businesses. So you either give in and don't do it, and then never know what the potential results could be like, or you take that chance and lean into that fear and step forward and have your dreams come true.
Yes, absolutely. Another thing I would say, just to piggyback off of that, is to plan ahead. I think that in all of our podcasts so far, you can't get away from planning ahead. This time, plan for the failure. Think about it. Well, what's the worst thing that could happen? What will it look like? What if it does fail? Whatever it is that you are afraid of or that is causing you to pause or be hesitant, then then turn it into a question. If it does happen, so instead of just saying, oh my goodness, what if this happens, then say, if it does happen, then what.
Yeah.
Hold on just a second. I hit the pause button, I think. So yes, and another way to actually increase your confidence about launching your business is really just think about what's the worst thing that could happen. Instead of just saying, hey, what if this, or what if that, or what if this or that happens, actually say, well, if that does happen, then what? What will I do if it fails, or if only a few people participate, or whatever the case may be, what will happen? So if you plan for those things, then I think that will actually help you to move a little bit more confidently. And I think that if you think about what would really happen, it's really not so bad. You'll see that that's just not the end of the world.
Yeah. So, in case you guys can hear in the background there, Teresa's canine helpers are creating a little ruckus, and we had to take an unscheduled pause in our recording today. But you know what? It doesn't mean this recording is a failure, does it, Teresa? Just means
No, it does not.
exactly.
No,
This is,
it doesn't. No,
yeah,
it
we're
doesn't.
keeping it real here.
Yes. And another thing, real and relatable. That's very, very important. And that's what we want to do in this podcast. We don't want to sugarcoat things. Another thing, or other things to be prepared for, especially when it comes to your business, is plan ahead for negotiations. There might be some tough negotiations that you have out there. You might get that client or those customers who are going to be so great, and they're just appreciative that you are actually here, right? And they're just excited to do business with you. But you might get a customer or a client that might be a little bit more difficult or disagreeable, or not so easily won over, or you might run into some competition. Be plan ahead for your pricing, especially when you are new in business. When you are setting your prices, be confident about those, and think to yourself ahead of time, am I going to negotiate on my price? Am I going to change my price in any type of way? Be prepared, but also be prepared and do your research whenever you are going to encounter a client of any kind, especially if you're going to provide a service and it's not just a product that you're selling. Then you want to make sure that you're at the top of your game when it comes to talking to them, so that they can't negotiate you down or make you feel bad about or less than. And guess what? It is okay. There are plenty of clients, especially with my publishing company, that they might come to me and there's something that they want to do, and it's not something that I offer in my company. Well, guess what? I don't feel bad about saying, you know what? No, that's not a service that I do offer. However, what I can do is, so since I'm confident in what it is that I can do, then and if you know anything about it, then I was able to explain to them, but this piece right here is what you're going to need, that's going to lead you to be able to do this. So before you have an audio book, you need a book.
Yeah.
We need an actual something for someone to read, and I can help you to take that idea out of your head and get it on, get it into a book and into book stands. So that's the type of thing that I'm talking about.
Yeah, yeah. And if you plan ahead, and if your plans fall awry, that's okay. Because you know what? Failing doesn't mean that you are a failure.
Mm-hmm.
If you've taken a misstep, it's just that. It's just a misstep. Um, and especially in the beginning when you're launching your business, where you start out, it's not necessarily where you're going to end up.
Oh yeah,
I
that's
mean,
good.
when I started, you know, partway through my coach, I mean, initially I was coaching um, expats about how to communicate across cultures, a very niche market. And then I moved to Canada, and I thought, okay, I'm going to expand, and I'm going to coach financial planners that are just getting into the business. And you know what? I found that that was a mistake for me because I didn't really relate to that audience. It wasn't a passion of mine. And you know what? It's okay. So then you just transition. You're still using the same skills that you started out your business with, but you're transitioning it, and you're defining yourself and your business even more. It doesn't mean you failed by
Mhm.
any means. You haven't failed. You've just transitioned. You've learned what works best and what doesn't. And that's all part of the growing a business, launching and growing a business. It's all part of the process. I mean, if we could all do it perfectly from the first step, wouldn't the world be beautiful? But how many
Yes,
people do it perfectly from the first step, really?
exactly.
You know, um, it's not going to mean the end of your business just because you've made one misstep or one wrong decision or whatever. Failing is not um, the end of the world, and it doesn't reflect on you personally. It just reflects on maybe bad planning ahead.
Mhm,
Maybe not
mhm,
enough research. That's all
mhm,
it is. So you've learned, and you go back and you do your research and you replan and you reboot and retool. Um, and we when we're doing all of that, when we're planning ahead, and we're taking those fears of failures and stuff, we can start overthinking everything there is
mhm,
to think about launching your business, right? You can spend an awful lot of time in your head, making beautiful plans, but never getting them off the paper. Never getting them off the paper. Um, if it's scary to take that first step, admit to yourself that you're scared, but give in to that. Don't give in to that overthinking. Just don't stop moving forward. You need to, in fact, do the exact opposite. You need to focus on what is the next best move you can take to move forward. So you may have a to-do list of everything involved with launching a business, and that can be quite another topic for a podcast altogether, but you need to figure out what's the next best thing. What's the one thing you can do today that's going to move you
mhm,
forward, right?
mhm.
And do it. Just do it. It's just one thing. We're only asking you to do one thing. Just get started, and adjust and correct and reevaluate
Mhm.
as you go.
Yes, I mean, all of those things are that you just mentioned are really just so good. While you were talking about, you know, avoiding overthinking, so many things were just running through my mind. And you're right, if you just get started, I like to say that where your business starts, like you have this big idea about what your business is going to be about, but in the end that might not even be
Exactly.
what your customers are looking at you for. So it might not necessarily be that it was a failure at all. If
Yeah.
you just put a totally different word on it, it just might be that you're just doing something different,
Yeah.
or that you had to change directions. You're still in business. You might still have that business, but people are asking you for something different. Just like when I first started speaking, I thought that what I was going to speak about was one thing, but I kept being asked about money tips. And I thought that my first book was actually going to be a devotional, but my first book turned out to be a financial self help book. So I was speaking every month, or speaking, weekly sometimes. And I would start out speaking about this one thing, but what people were asking me for, was totally something different. So, be willing to be fluid in the process. And another thing that came up while you were speaking was, don't put pressure on yourself to start with like the absolute biggest thing. And I'm not talking about starting small or playing it small, because of course we want you to hit whatever your goals are that you have for your business. But what I'm talking about is, if you, let me see, what do I want to use? If there is a service out there that costs a lot of money, but you really don't have, the budget for that, then perhaps see if there is a free service or a more economical service, or that there is some type of other networking that can be done that will achieve the same result. And then as your business grows and you're making money, then you can take that income and actually put into it. So it sometimes that stops us, as well. Some other tips that I wanted to share as far as building the confidence to actually really launch that business and launch it solid is to really focus on getting rid of that negative thinking. It is really, really important. So I'm going to put two things together: get rid of negative thinking. And then one might say, well, Teresa, that's easier said than done, right? Or especially if you have already, you're on the other side of it and you're telling someone, it seems like that is something that is so easy. But I can tell you that is not necessarily so easy, but it does involve developing some new habits. Sometimes one day I had to stop, I'm super positive, but even in the midst of being a positive person, in one area of my life, I really experienced some negative self talk, you know? And I finally one day said, I'm kind of fed up with this, and what is it that I can do? So what I can share with you is that you have to create some new habits, around your thinking. The first thing is to acknowledge that you have like a negative perspective in the first place.
Mhm.
It might not be the other person, it really might be you.
Yep.
And I had to admit that to myself. Another thing, though, that I did, and I have this phrase, and the phrase is, words are the new dietary supplement. When I was growing up, my parents always taught me, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt you. But today, that is not true. We live and breathe by the words of other people, some of us. And so I didn't want to become a victim of someone else's words. And definitely, I did not need to be a victim of my own words. And to know that you're being a victim of your own words, ask yourself, if someone else was saying to you what you're saying to yourself, what would you do? And if your answer is any way negative, or you would slap them or snatch all their hair out, then you are not speaking to yourself kindly.
Exactly.
And so one thing that I did was I started, I'm just a big fan of index cards. It's inexpensive. I'm very sensitive to color, so I like to get the neon ones, go and get 100 pack. And then what I did, I didn't write down the negative things that I was saying to myself. I wrote down phrases or words that I wanted to hear,
Mm.
or that I needed to hear. And then I even got really creative. I bought cardstock paper, again, neon colored, and went to the dollar store and bought a bunch of, they have gold and they have silver picture frames, just $1. And I got on my computer and I typed out quotes, positive quotes, and I printed them on that cardstock paper, and I cut it and I put it into, I bought like the little 5x7 photo frames, and I took those frames so it looked all fashionable, right? It didn't look like something crazy. And I put those actually all over my house, like in areas where I would normally sit. or I just kind of created a space for myself actually in my den. And I had these photo frames really just all over the place with these positive quotes. And I would make it a point to go and sit in my den and literally just look around at each one of those photo frames, and I would read those every day. I will tell you that over time, all of that negative thinking, it just went away.
Mm.
I fortified myself with these positive quotes and affirmations. If you need to affirm yourself, put some affirmations, whether you believe it or not, and then just read it. So I consider those types of things to be part of my toolbox that have helped me to increase my confidence. And so I encourage you to develop your toolbox of confidence. Now, what do I mean by toolbox? Because we think of like tools of these mechanical type of things. But for me, by your confidence toolbox, I mean those things um, that when these things are present, they actually push you to go forward. And so for me, affirmations, I'm very sensitive to smells, but that goes into being self aware, to become really aware of yourself and what it is that actually spurs you on. So there are some fragrances that if I have that fragrance, then it just helps. I mean, I'm telling you, I perk up. Right now, my fragrance is peppermint. I love the smell of peppermint. I just take some of the essential oil of peppermint and put it on the stove in a little pot and just kind of let that go through the air in my home. And I absolutely love it. So it invigorates me, inspires me. But tap into what inspires you. There's certain music that when I hear it, I even have it down to what my favorite horn or instrument is. It's the piano and a French horn. So I have a playlist of music that highlights those instruments. So I'm being like really specific, but I'm saying to become aware of yourself and those things that will help to spur you on, then have those things always at your fingertips where you can get to them.
Yeah, I think I was going to say music as well. Music is a huge one for me. I tend to, when I'm feeling um distracted, or when that nervous energy is building up inside of me, putting on some really powerful music with powerful lyrics that make you feel strong and like you can take
Yes.
on the world, Eye of the Tiger kind of,
Mhm.
music. It really helps,
Mhm.
it expends some of that nervous energy that you're experiencing, whether it's from fear of failing or fear of taking that next step, or whatever it is with respect to launching your business, and it just pumps you up. So music is a huge, huge one for sure, that I think a lot of people can use to spur them forward. Another another one might be, if you need to clear your head, might be a walk in nature. Like, it might
Mhm.
not be something really active, it might be something more passive like that. A walk in nature or a meditation, or something in your tool chest that helps you reconnect to yourself and what's important to you, so
Right.
that that confidence comes back if it's taken a little hit, or if you've been listening to your negative voice a little bit too much
Yes.
that day or something, really, really helpful. Another great thing to have in your toolbox is finding a strong community. Looking it, and it's not necessarily going to be your spouse or your children, or whatever. They may not be super supportive of you quitting your job and launching a business, but they could be your biggest champions. I'm fortunate to have my biggest champion is um my partner in life, and but there's also, for me, there's also Teresa, my incredible accountability partner, who just keeps me very focused, on that next step that I can take to build. So accountability partners are huge.
Yes.
Yeah, try not to spend an awful lot of your time. I mean, you have to research your competition, but try not to surround yourself with only your competition, because that can really feed into your negative, into your self-doubts, and make you overthink what you're doing, and all that stuff. um, find yeah, find them on the internet, find them through Google, find them through hashtags. Asking people in business, um, if they know of any groups out there that really support you. Find a mentoring group of some sort. Networking groups. I belong to a networking group called Networking for the Ladies, and we meet monthly, and we just kind of pump each other up. And after those meetings, I feel strong. I feel ready to tackle the next step in my business. So look to people you admire,
Mhm.
look to role models. And you can look to people you can learn and grow from. That's all part of your strong community, that will help you um, stay focused, and help you stay connected to your own confidence. So,
Yes, definitely, definitely. I
yeah,
mean, and sometimes if there's someone, as Rosalind says, someone that you admire, they may not even be another person that is in business, but it might be just a person that you admire, some trait or some skill, something in them that you see that you need. You know what? I've gone to people and I've just asked them,
yeah,
to mentor me, or I've asked them questions about whatever that thing is that is about them, that is drawing them to me. And just to piggyback off of staring at your competition, it can take you down a road where you are spending too much time, energy, and money. It can cost you all of those things because you're looking at them over there. What I would say is to understand that your journey is not the same as someone else's journey. It can throw you into this shiny penny syndrome. You might be looking at someone who's been in business and they've been in business 15 years. There's no,
they
no,
didn't start out where they are right
they
now.
didn't start out where they are. And so there's definitely no reason in you comparing yourself to them. But even if you just start your business today and someone else starts their business today and they start a business that is exactly the same as yours, what I would encourage you to do is understand that you cannot be them, but guess what? They cannot be you. And a
Exactly.
perfect example of that, I think all of us, and I'm sure that it's occurring in Canada as well, but here in the US, there are some corners that you can go to, and there is a gas station literally on each corner. So you can stand at one gas station and look at the gas station across the street. But guess what? There are people at both gas stations.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I have a particular, gas provider that I prefer to go to. I don't know why I prefer to go to them, but I do. And but if they were closed or if they were not available, guess what? I would be over at that other one. And that's the same thing for everyone. There are
yeah,
going to be things about you. Your customers are going to be for you, and there are going to be things about you that's just going to draw them, and they're going to be, so I wouldn't worry about that. Focus more on just growing your own business and being the best at what it is that you do.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think we've given you a lot to chew on,
Yes.
with respect to building your confidence to help you develop and launch that business. Just to recap, top 8 tips for you to think about. One is to understand that it's normal to be afraid.
Mhm.
2, face your fears, just face them. 3, plan ahead. 4, remember that failing doesn't mean that you are a failure. 5, avoid overthinking. 6, get rid of that negative conversations in your mind. 7, establish your support toolbox. And part of that is 8, find a strong community of supportive, like minded people.
Absolutely. And our takeaway today is to just take action. Take action. And of course, we have now reached the end of this episode. Oh, we hate to go. We hate to
We
go
do. Yeah. Yeah.
because Rosalind and I could talk for a long time. But when we were thinking about this topic, we know, again, this is a topic that is near and dear to us. And it has its challenges, but we want to help you triumph in everything that we talk about. And that's why we just love sharing all of these tips. So you can continue to follow us. You can follow me, Teresa, at I on IG at I am Teresa _C. And then you can follow Rosalind on IG at Triskelion _transitions. And of course, you can always contact us with your questions or your comments. If you have any topics that you would like for us to cover on our podcast, by all means, reach out to us at relentlesstransitions@gmail.com. So for now, thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to you to sharing more information with you on our next episode of Relentless Transitions.
Thanks for listening, everyone.